Welcome, Sonia. Thank you so much for joining us on How She Leads Tech. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Danielle. Thanks so much for having me here today. I'm thrilled to be a part of this.
I'm so excited to have you finally. We've had a couple of scheduling issues, but finally we made it and we're here. We're here to find out a little bit about who you are. But today, before we do that, I'd love to tell our audience a little bit about who She Leads Tech is, if that's okay.
Of course, would love to hear more about it.
Fantastic. So just really quick, She Leads Tech is a nonprofit program within ISAC Vancouver. We're an international profit that is operating in India as well as parts of Africa and throughout Canada and US. And our aim is really to empower, elevate, and engage women in technology-related professions. So by your offering of your time and talking a little bit about your experience, our aim here today is really to inspire young women to pursue a career that might be interesting to them. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And I hope that I don't bore these women and that they are going to be very inspired and excited and feel that they have the ability to make a change into getting into a tech role or even moving further into the tech community as well.
You can never be boring, Sonia, even if you try. Okay, it kind of made my next question irrelevant, but why don't you start by telling us your name and what you do?
Great. So my name is Sonia Singh. I currently work for Amazon Web Services. So I lead one of our largest segments here for our customer base, which is the independent software vendors and digital native customers. So you can think of these customers as like just really large startups. They're very fun. They're exciting. They're the customers who are going to be making like the technology that we're going to be using for, like our next generations essentially. So it's like 50% of their revenue is coming from making software that we essentially utilize. And I manage the teams that help them to do their go-to-market strategy and help to support them from an AWS perspective.
That is so cool. I'm already thinking about what version of TikTok is going to come out 5 years from now.
Oh man, it's under NDA. No.
Oh no, oh no. Okay. Well, that's really awesome to know about your current role. Now, just going back 5 years, which isn't that long ago, but is this where you thought you'd end up?
No, absolutely not. I think, 5 years ago, I was actually thinking of doing a completely different career change and getting out of technology. And so, previous to being in tech, I actually used to be an educator. And so, I was toying with the decision of like, should I go back into becoming an instructor again? Like, should I go back into academia? And then I actually just realized that I needed to align with an organization that was more in line with like what my career aspirations and things that I wanted to do and I had like closer goal alignment with. And so, yeah, here I am here today and I've had a great opportunity in the company that I'm with right now and lots of opportunity to work in different segments. And so I think I made the right move. But I would have never guessed like 5 years ago that I'd be working, with some of the most brilliant technology minds in the industry. Absolutely no.
That is so amazing. And at minimum, today you've already inspired me because I get to talk to somebody who has an amazing career today. But if it didn't work out, her fallback is another amazing career, which I
Oh, thanks
applaud
so
you for. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's start from the beginning of who Sonia is, and that really starts from who. Well, it doesn't start from this point, but what was your first job?
So my first job, I guess, so when I was legal and allowed to work when I was 15, I guess, I'd always been in a communications or like customer facing type of role. That first role was I used to work for a retail organization in the mall selling clothes. And I actually probably spent all of my paychecks in that mall, but that was my first job. And it actually happened to be in sales too, and continue to do that here today as well.
That is so cool. Never really left the field, hey?
I guess not, no.
Okay, when you were growing up selling clothes in the mall, did you ever think to yourself, what do I really want to be when I grow up?
Oh my gosh, it's a little bit embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyways, is I've always wanted to be a singer or a performer, but I'm literally the worst singer ever, and I'm not even very good at karaoke, so that definitely didn't pan out. But yeah, always also wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always like loved doing a lot of variety of different things and in different ways, and so I always thought maybe one day I would be a business owner, or work in like the business field. That was always something that appealed to me if my singing career didn't work out, which it absolutely didn't.
That is amazing. I also had a similar career path where I thought I was going to be Christy Turlington and
Oh, nice.
old town. Didn't work out.
We can dream big, right?
It's definitely dream big, but you know what? I have to say, I feel like you and I might be living the dream already.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so.
Yeah. So did you go to post-secondary school? Like, did you take something that was similar to your role today? Like what
Yeah.
did you have?
Yeah, so I did. I think I was lucky that I just fell into business. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I started out right away, and I completed a Bachelor of Commerce in Entrepreneurial Management. And then I also have a master's in Educational Technology, focused on supporting adult education, so doing curriculum and instruction for adults.
My goodness, if I could just pick my job. That's amazing, Sonia. I always knew you were smart. I didn't realize that you were the person that made other people smart too.
I don't know about that. I try, but
That's fantastic. I love that you're so accomplished. And going back then, you've obviously got many, many interests. Tell me about your personal life. We want to know the well-rounded Sonia. And if we weren't at work today, what would you be doing?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if this one makes me sound lazy, but I'll tell you anyways. Like, I just wish I could turn into a couch sometimes. I feel like life is just so busy, but that's probably not a good hobby to have. So I do really love being outdoors. I snowboard a lot. I'm a pretty avid snowboarder. I love hiking. I really love reading too. I research literally like anything I possibly can. And recently I've taken up gardening. So during the pandemic, my partner and I, we moved like a lot of people have moved, and like so we have a half acre of beautifully like landscaped property. And so I'm trying not to ruin it and stay on top of it, but I don't know if I'm doing a very good job because I did just hire a gardener to come in. So I mean, it's a work in practice, this hobby of mine, but those are some of the things I love. I also really love real estate, actually, as well. I think I got that one from my dad. So everywhere I go, I'm always like on the real estate app, like just looking at different properties in different areas to see what they look like, get inspiration and ideas, and then, also maybe investment ideas as well.
That is really cool. And this is a personal question that I have in my mind as you were talking because you're
Yeah.
so diverse in your interests. You and I are both in sales, right? So I'm always curious, do you find that your breadth of interest actually feeds into your role today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I'm naturally curious, this is bred into like how I am in my day to day, actually at work as well. It's actually allowed me to experiment with my career because I research and see different things that I might want to experiment with and try out at work. And so I do think that sometimes I'm like, is researching a hobby? But like to me, that is, but it also has to do with my career as well, I guess, too.
Yeah, that's such an
Yeah,
interesting perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that, right?
no problem.
So going back to your current life now,
Yeah.
you work at AWS, and I have never worked there, so I don't know if this is a true statement for you or not.
Okay.
But in our field, sometimes it can be quite male dominated. Do you
Yeah.
find that true for your current organization today? And if so, how do you feel about working in an environment like that, and how do you fit in?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, tech in general is very male dominated, like you mentioned. All of the organizations that I've been at before and the teams that I've been at, in a sales capacity, I'm usually the only female on the team. Actually, what's really different about my role at AWS right now, there's four of us on the leadership team that take care of the independent software vendor segment, and three of us are women, and then there's only one male. So it's kind of like flipped around a little bit. And I really love actually seeing that. So we are fostering like an environment where there's a lot more diversity now. I
Yeah,
mean, in a perfect world, I would love to have 50-50 on my team, like going forward, right? But just even seeing that the leadership team is mostly women for my segment is very, very inspiring.
I love that. So it sounds like you've worked in places before where you have experienced being an only woman
Yeah.
in an environment. I'm glad to hear that's no longer true for you today. But I'm curious, do you have a superpower in that sets you apart from the dudes? Or maybe there's something different that you brought to the table that you might.
So how am I different from my male counterparts? Well, it's not the singing ability, right? So I'll tell you that one. Tell you that much. So I don't have that one, but I am very naturally curious, and I really love meeting new people as well, and I like thinking about new ways to do things. So I'm an experimenter. I want to fail fast, and I love learning things and then trying them, and if they don't work, I just move on. So I would say, like, from the guys, how I am a little bit different is I'm a serial entrepreneur. And like I really thrive anywhere where, there's a new product that's essentially being launched, or a new concept that we need to test, or something that we need to experiment with. I would say I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think lots of people need that, like, constant. And I don't feel like I need that. I'm okay to experiment.
Okay. So what I'm
Yeah.
hearing is she's fearless, and I
I
love
don't know about
maybe not with
calculated
a
risk,
mic.
Danielle, calculated risk.
Maybe not with a mic, but in general, she's good with calculated risks.
Yeah.
By the way, when this is all over, you and I are going to hit the karaoke bar in a
Oh,
private.
man. I hope so.
That's fantastic. So tell me, what's the most fun thing about your job today?
I love the variety and the creativity that I'm allowed to have on a day to day. I have a lot of autonomy too, and I have the ability to really think big and differently. And so I do so many different things in the day as well, right? Like sometimes I'm doing strategy, sometimes I'm doing coaching, interviewing, recruitment, helping to support our customers as well on their go to markets, working and developing different partnerships with our community, volunteering. So there's just so many elements that make it super interesting and diverse. And I like that I don't have to do the same thing, every day. And I like to have the ability to, like, meet with a lot of people. I'm an introvert extrovert, I would say too. And so, like, I get a lot of energy when I meet people, but like I need to have my little time as well to, like, recuperate. And so I feel like this is a job that allows me to really to do that.
You know, what's so funny is that nobody on my team actually believes that I am an introvert because, like you, I enjoy meeting people, but what they don't see is the crash when I get home and I just want to sit on the couch and chill out, right?
Yeah. So you also want to turn into a couch as well
I
sometimes, right?
do. I do. I love being a couch, right? So
Yeah.
one thing that was really interesting that you said was, great diversity at the leadership level, it sounds like, amongst your colleagues. But the team, and maybe this is me reaching a little bit, but I
Hmm.
didn't hear that same diversity was there just yet. And I'm curious, why do you think that is?
Yeah. You know what? I really want to encourage women to know that you can get into a career in tech and you don't have to be a developer or an engineer. And so I think that personally, I think that that's where women kind of shy away from sometimes. It's perfectly fine, by the way, to be a developer or an engineer, right? I think those are wonderful careers to go into. But in the tech space, there's so many other avenues. Like you could do marketing or sales or business development, like training and development,
Yeah.
but be in the tech space. And so I think that that's why like people shy away from it a little bit. I also just coming from an education background too, I think it has a lot to do with STEM programs as well. Traditionally, in elementary school, girls gravitate towards like arts and boys gravitate towards like math and science, right? I think that's changing now, certainly is, but that's going to take a bit of time to do a shift, I think, and where we have like a 50-50. But it's also about empowering the women now to be able to let them know that, hey, you might not be in the tech space right now, but you have a marketing background. And guess what? You could apply that into working for a technology company as well. Like yourself and myself are in these types of roles.
Well, I was an interior designer before I became a sales VP in
Oh, there you
technology.
go. Yeah.
You were an educator, right? Which
Yeah.
I see the correlations between education and sales. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's about taking that leap and taking a page out of Sonia's book and just being a little bit fearless, right?
I guess so. And people actually do often ask me, they're like, why did you go from education into sales? Like they're totally different. And I actually don't agree with that. I think they're exactly the same. So, like when I was an instructor, I had a class of individuals that I would be teaching concepts to and like helping to keep them engaged and like switching my approach if it didn't work. Right. And
Yeah.
so in sales, you're doing the same thing, except it's with a customer and you're working backwards to help to understand what their pain points are and how you can support them. And so, and you're essentially presenting and being in front of people in both of those roles. So there's a lot of like transferable skills.
That is a perfect segue into my next question because I'm going to assume that, you had probably some guidance or a mentor that helped you transition from education to technology sales.
Mhm.
Was that true? Is that a true statement for you?
Yeah, I would say that's a true statement for me. I've only actually started to really take mentorship seriously in the last 3 to 5 years. I
Mhm.
have a mentor. I have a few mentors actually right now, about 3 to 4 actually, internal ones to the organization I work at, and then externally as well, because I just like to get a different variety, and some of them are specialized in different areas, and they share their knowledge with me and I also share knowledge with them too. I think it's a reciprocating relationship, right? And so going back to the question that you had for me and when I did my career move, I absolutely attribute that to a mentor, because I was really struggling to figure out like what my role was going to be and how I was going to find a job and what field that was going to be in. And
Yeah.
so it was a family member who is also one of my mentors is in the tech space, and he was like, Sonia, you have these skills, like you're great with people and you're already presenting and you've always been customer facing, like why don't you look at being in the tech sector? And so he really like helped me to like uncover like different roles that might be appropriate for me as well, and helped to guide me into that career decision. And honestly, like I can't thank him enough, because that really helped to turn my career around completely. And like I don't know what I would do if I wasn't in this space. I enjoy it so much.
I am so happy to hear that because, I have that one person that also changed my career path entirely. And, for you, it's your family member. And for me, it was actually my husband because before
Oh,
I didn't even know technology sales was a thing that you
yeah.
could have a lot of fun doing, have a really rewarding career. And Bob's your uncle, here we are.
Right. There you go. You never know, honestly, where you're going to end up, right?
And that's the beautiful part, right? Because I think there's a fallacy in our thinking that our career paths are linear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I and Dragana, who's our director for Sheleadstech, and many countless others who have shared their stories have proven that it's kind of a messy, process to get to this point, right? And
Yeah,
as much as I'd love
absolutely.
to plot it
Yeah.
out, it didn't happen that way. Okay. So I'm curious, if you were to look back at young Sonia today, which you were still quite young and beautiful, I might add, um, what would be the advice you would give to Sonia in her 20s today?
Oh yeah. Too much advice. Like, do we have a couple of days here? But honestly, honestly, I would say to really, I would have learned to take calculated risk earlier. And I would have seek mentoring and coaching earlier in my career. Because, like I think I was just saying a couple minutes ago, I really only started to do mentoring and coaching like about 3 to 5 years ago. And that's when my career really changed because they started to push me and also help to guide me and look at different areas that I might have gaps in. So I would say, mentoring and coaching. I would also say this takes a bit of time to develop too, but and I didn't trust this at the beginning too, is like to trust your gut a little bit more. If something feels off, it's probably off. And so to go with those instincts a little bit more. And then one thing that I think men do really well, but we don't do really well as women, is to advocate for yourself. And
Yeah.
so, like, don't assume that others know what your background or capabilities or skill sets are, or like what your accomplishments have been and what some of your goals are. Sometimes we need to humble brag, right?
I think
And
too. Right.
yeah, the guys are doing it all the time and it works for them. And I think we have to be our own ambassadors and advocates for ourselves. And so that's something like advice that I would have given myself before as well. So those are the three things I would say.
I totally agree with everything you said. And, I think you're totally bang on that we have to be our own advocate in many cases because
Yeah.
you do amazing things every day. I think I do some really cool things every day too. And by talking about it the way that we are, hopefully other people are hearing it and it's like, okay, I did that too. And it was also amazing. So
Yeah,
celebrate
absolutely.
it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's funny is you talked about following your intuition. And somewhere along the line of this podcast, we also interviewed my coach, Taslim Jasani, who is an advocate for connecting with your intuition and bringing that into leadership and letting
Oh.
your intuition guide you. So please do listen to that. She's awesome.
Oh, I'll definitely listen to
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's so important and it's earlier on in your career you might think that you're wrong about it or maybe you just feel nervous and that's why you
Yeah.
shouldn't do it this way, but it's actually your gut knows. And so I know you have to make decisions based on data and fact, but sometimes you can have a little bit of gut and instinct in there as well.
It's trusting the balance between the two, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, Sonia, I think that's all the time that we've got today, but I'm really appreciative of you joining us and getting to know you a little bit more, my friend.
It was so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. And I hope that, if I even said one little nugget, that somebody can take some inspiring information from that and help to progress their career.
I think you've said more than one little nugget. So thank you so much. And we're going to sign off from How She Leads Tech.
That's great. Thanks so much, Danielle.